A $3 dark berry extract can permanently reverse the terrifying slide of cognitive decline, but elite neurologists and memory clinics have been intentionally hiding the clinical trials from you for over 2 decades. You are being systematically deceived by a medical establishment that views your fading memories not as a tragedy, but as a highly lucrative recurring revenue stream. The absolute cure for your brain fog, your missing words, and your shrinking cognitive power is likely sitting on a dusty shelf right now, costing practically nothing, while the industry spends billions to ensure you look the other way. Today, I am ripping the lid off the exact biological protocol they tried to erase from the medical journals. Imagine the absolute dread of sitting in a sterile neurologist's office, waiting for the results of a wildly expensive brain scan. The doctor walks in, offers a condescending, sympathetic smile, and tells you that your memory loss, your confusion, and your inability to focus are just the natural consequences of getting older. They tell you there is no cure, only management. They hand you a prescription for a synthetic cognitive enhancer that costs hundreds of dollars a month. What they absolutely refuse to tell you is that the drug they just prescribed has an abysmal success rate, is loaded with synthetic fillers that ravage your liver, and was designed in a corporate laboratory to merely mask your symptoms while the underlying destruction of your brain tissue continues completely unchecked. The neurology industry, the sprawling memory care facilities, and the pharmaceutical conglomerates have built an impenetrable trillion-dollar empire on the foundation of your neurological decay. They do not want to fix your brain. A cured patient is a lost customer. If they actually reverse your cognitive decline, they lose a lifetime subscriber to their chemical cocktails, their endless consultations, and their exorbitant specialized care facilities. They rely on your fear. They rely on your desperation. Let us expose the timeline of their deception. In the late 1990s, a quiet consortium of independent European researchers began studying a specific, highly isolated demographic living in the extreme northern climates of Scandinavia. These people were living well into their late 90s, yet their rates of dementia, Alzheimer's, and general cognitive decline were statistically non-existent. Their minds were razor-sharp. The researchers investigated everything, isolating their diets, their environments, and their genetics. They found the anomaly. This population consumed a massive daily quantity of a very specific, deeply pigmented wild berry. The researchers took this berry into the laboratory and extracted its core compounds. They ran the double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical trials. The results were not just a statistical improvement, they were a biological paradigm shift. The data proved irrefutably that the specific compounds in this berry extract were actively repairing damaged vascular networks inside the brain and reversing the markers of cognitive decline. So, what did the medical establishment do with this miraculous, world-changing data? They buried it. They discredited the methodology. They pulled the funding for subsequent trials. Why? Because you cannot patent a wild berry. You cannot monopolize a natural extract that costs $3 to produce and sell it for a 4,000% markup. They pivoted the global narrative back to their synthetic, patentable drugs, leaving millions to slowly lose their minds while the true cure was suppressed. Now, while the legal apparatus and the medical gatekeepers mandate that I state this broadcast is for educational purposes only and is not intended to replace the heavily biased advice of their certified practitioners, I am urging you to look at the undeniable evidence. Look at the staggering failure rates of modern dementia treatments. You have the fundamental right to take absolute control of your own cognitive health. You have the right to access the suppressed science they desperately want to keep locked away. To truly grasp the staggering power of this suppressed extract, you must understand the microscopic, biological warfare happening inside your brain at this very second. The medical elite love to throw around terrifying buzzwords like amyloid plaques and tau tangles. They have spent decades convincing the public that these sticky proteins are the singular, unstoppable cause of dementia. That is a calculated misdirection. The plaques are not the root cause. The plaques are the biological scar tissue left behind by a much more insidious killer: cerebral hypoperfusion and severe oxidative stress. Cerebral hypoperfusion is a complex medical term for a very simple, deadly problem. Your brain is starving to death. Your brain weighs roughly 2% of your total body weight, yet it demands a staggering 20% of your body's total blood flow and oxygen. This massive supply of blood is delivered through an incredibly dense, microscopic network of capillaries. As you age in a world filled with processed diets, environmental toxins, and chronic stress, the delicate endothelial lining of these microscopic blood vessels becomes damaged and inflamed. When these capillaries become inflamed, they stiffen and shrink. The blood flow to your brain is literally choked off. Your neurons, the cells responsible for every memory you hold and every thought you process, are suddenly deprived of the oxygen and glucose they desperately need to survive. When a neuron starves, it panics. It stops communicating with its neighbors. The synaptic bridges between your brain cells wither and die. This is why you forget names. This is why you walk into a room and cannot remember why. Your brain is not wearing out. It is suffocating. Simultaneously, this starvation environment creates a massive surge in free radicals, unstable molecules that violently attack and destroy healthy brain tissue. This is oxidative stress. Your brain's natural defense systems become completely overwhelmed. The microglial cells, the immune sentinels of your brain, detect this massive tissue death and trigger chronic, raging inflammation. It is only after years of this starvation and inflammatory fire that the amyloid plaques begin to form. Trying to cure memory loss by targeting the plaques is like trying to put out a roaring forest fire by sweeping up the ashes. It is medically absurd. This is where the absolute biological miracle of this $3 extract comes into play. Your brain is surrounded by the blood-brain barrier, a highly selective security system designed to keep toxins out. The tragedy of modern medicine is that this barrier also blocks almost all synthetic neurology drugs. The pharmaceutical companies know this, yet they sell you the pills anyway. But the specific bioactive phytonutrients inside this hidden berry extract are recognized by the blood-brain barrier as essential VIP biological cargo. They are actively transported across the barrier and delivered directly into the starving brain tissue. Once inside, these compounds execute a two-part permanent rescue mission. First, they act as the most potent, natural vasodilators ever discovered for cerebral microvessels. They bind to the damaged endothelial cells lining your brain's capillaries and trigger a massive release of nitric oxide. This forces the shriveled, choked-off blood vessels to instantly relax and dilate. The blood flow is restored. The oxygen and glucose rush back into the starving tissue. The suffocation ends immediately. Second, these dark pigments contain a hyper-concentrated class of antioxidants that specifically target and neutralize the free radicals attacking your neurons. They extinguish the inflammatory fire, but they do not just stop the damage, they reverse it. By flooding the brain with oxygen and neutralizing the toxins, these compounds stimulate the mitochondria, the powerhouses inside your brain cells, to begin producing massive amounts of ATP energy. This energy surge forces the neurons to begin rebuilding the withered synaptic bridges. This is not symptom management. This is actual, verifiable, structural regeneration of your cognitive architecture. So, what is this heavily guarded, miraculous compound? It is the ultra-concentrated extract of the Wild Arctic Bilberry, scientifically known as Vaccinium myrtillus. But stop right there. Do not rush to your local grocery store and buy a plastic clamshell of regular, plump blueberries. If you do that, you will completely fail, you will waste your money, and you will remain trapped in the cycle of cognitive decline. This is exactly how the industry manipulates the narrative. They tell you to just eat more berries, knowing full well that commercially farmed, genetically modified supermarket blueberries are essentially biological water balloons, completely devoid of the specific medicinal compounds required to heal your brain. The secret lies entirely in the extreme environmental stress of the Arctic Circle. The Wild Arctic Bilberry grows in brutal, freezing conditions, enduring months of total darkness followed by months of relentless 24-hour sunlight. To survive this extreme ultraviolet radiation and freezing stress, the bilberry plant pumps its fruit absolutely full of a specific class of defensive compounds called anthocyanins. These anthocyanins are the dark purple-black pigments that stain your hands. They are the exact miraculous molecules that cross the blood-brain barrier to rebuild your vascular network. A single tiny wild Arctic bilberry contains up to 5 times more anthocyanins than a massive watery supermarket blueberry. But even finding the right berry is not enough. You must prepare and consume it using a highly specific bioactive protocol to ensure maximum absorption. The pharmaceutical industry knows that if you just eat dried bilberry powder, your harsh stomach acids will destroy the fragile anthocyanin molecules before they ever reach your bloodstream. To unlock the permanent memory-restoring power of this extract, you must create a protective, synergistic carrier system. You must biologically hack the extract to survive your digestion. Here is the exact step-by-step formulation for what we will call the Cerebral Anthocyanin Matrix. You need 3 highly specific, inexpensive ingredients. First, you need a pure, freeze-dried Wild Arctic Bilberry extract powder. It must be freeze-dried. If it was dried using high heat, the thermal destruction of the anthocyanins is absolute, and the powder is medically useless. Look for a powder that is a deep, rich, almost black-purple color. If it is light pink, it is garbage. Second, you need raw, unpasteurized organic honey. Raw honey contains specific natural digestive enzymes that will chaperone the anthocyanins through your stomach acid. Third, you need a high-quality, cold-pressed walnut oil. Walnuts are packed with alpha-linolenic acid, a specific omega-3 fatty acid that acts as a lipid-based transport vehicle, pulling the anthocyanins directly into your lymphatic system, bypassing the destructive liver pass entirely. To prepare the matrix, you must follow these instructions with absolute precision. Take a small, heavy-bottomed glass jar. Never use plastic, as the microplastics will bind to the anthocyanins and neutralize their electrical charge. Into the glass jar, place exactly 1 heaping teaspoon of the freeze-dried Wild Arctic Bilberry powder. Next, pour in exactly 1 tablespoon of the raw, unpasteurized honey. Do not stir it yet. Now, you must gently heat the walnut oil. Place exactly 1 teaspoon of the cold-pressed walnut oil into a small spoon and hold it over a very low flame or a hot water bath for just a few seconds until it is barely warm to the touch. Do not overheat it, or you will denature the delicate omega-3 lipids. Pour the gently warmed walnut oil into the jar over the powder and honey. Now, using a small wooden implement, again, absolutely no metal, slowly and deliberately fold the ingredients together. You are not whipping it, you are pressing the powder into the lipids and the enzymes. You will see the mixture transform into a thick, glossy, violently purple paste. The warmth of the oil slightly softens the cell walls of the bilberry powder, while the honey's enzymes immediately lock onto the anthocyanin molecules. The walnut oil coats the entire matrix in a protective lipid shield. You have just created a highly advanced, bioavailable neuroregenerative compound in your own kitchen for less than $3 a dose. How do you use this matrix to achieve total cognitive restoration? The protocol is strict, and you must adhere to the timeline. You must consume exactly 1 teaspoon of this deep purple paste twice a day. The first dose must be taken mid-morning, ideally around 10 a.m., at least 2 hours after your breakfast. Your stomach must be relatively empty so the lipid shield can pass smoothly into your small intestine without being delayed by heavy proteins. The second dose must be taken in the late afternoon around 4 p.m. to intercept the natural drop in cerebral blood flow that occurs later in the day. When you take the dose, do not just swallow it immediately. Place the paste under your tongue and let it sit there for at least 60 seconds. The sublingual blood vessels under your tongue will immediately absorb a portion of the unshielded anthocyanins directly into your bloodstream, providing an instant systemic rush of nitric oxide to your brain. After 60 seconds, swallow the remaining paste with a small glass of room-temperature water. When you adhere to this exact biological protocol, the physiological reversal of your cognitive decline is breathtakingly precise and completely predictable. On day 1, within the first 3 hours of your initial dose, you will experience a profound physical sensation inside your head. As the potent vasodilators cross the blood-brain barrier, the dormant, shrunken capillaries will snap open. You will literally feel a subtle, warming rush, a tingling of oxygen and blood returning to the starved regions of your prefrontal cortex. The suffocating, heavy veil of brain fog that you have accepted as normal will evaporate. You will experience a clean, vibrating mental clarity. You will not feel stimulated. You will feel awake. The exhaustion of trying to force your brain to work will vanish. By day 7, the anthocyanins have begun the structural repair. The massive reduction in oxidative stress has allowed your microglial cells to stand down. The inflammatory fire is out. You will notice a shocking improvement in your short-term recall. The maddening phenomenon of the tip-of-the-tongue word retrieval will disappear. You will recall a phone number, a name, or an item on your grocery list with startling, effortless speed. Your loved ones will notice that you are tracking conversations faster, responding with sharper wit, and no longer asking them to repeat themselves. The vascular networks are healing. By day 30, you have initiated complete structural neuroregeneration. The continuous supply of massive ATP energy to your neurons has forced the physical rebuilding of your synaptic bridges. Your working memory, your spatial awareness, and your executive function will be restored to levels you have not experienced in decades. The profound anxiety and the creeping depression that accompany the fear of losing your mind will be entirely replaced by a supreme, unshakable confidence in your own cognitive power. You will realize with absolute clarity that the neurological establishment lied to you. You are not a victim of your age. You were simply a victim of a starving brain, and you have finally provided the exact suppressed cure it was begging for. Do not let the medical elite dictate the terms of your mental decline. Do not let them drain your wealth while your precious memories fade into the dark. Take back command of your brilliant mind today. If this suppressed science resonates with the truth you know in your gut, you must hit the subscribe button right now. The medical industry is spending millions to algorithmically bury channels like this one that dare to expose their incredibly profitable secrets. Subscribing ensures you stay locked into this vault of banned knowledge. Check the description below for the exact, uncompromised links to the freeze-dried Wild Arctic Bilberry extract, the raw medicinal honey, and the cold-pressed walnut oil required to build your own anthocyanin matrix today. Do not wait for another memory to slip away. Reclaim your brain right now.